I'm here with Mark McKasy. Mark, you're a board member for the Upper Midwest High School Elite League. Last year, I had the privilege of working the game with you. You were our analyst, and we saw two great games.
Yeah, we did. It was exciting, John. There were two really competitive games. We had the team from northern Minnesota take on Team USA. It was a one-goal game, and then we had a team from the Metro take them on the next day, and it was also a one-goal game. So it was a lot of fun. The building was full. It was exciting. Great skill on both sides.
It was kind of fun for me. You mentioned the game with Team North, and it sounds like a big area, all of northern Minnesota, but you look at the roster, it boiled down to just most of the kids were from three high schools: Cloquet, Esco Carlton, Duluth East, and Hermantown.
Yeah, it's amazing. The talent that comes out of northern Minnesota is outstanding, and those are three powerhouse communities that have produced a number of really great high school players, successful college players, and NHL players. It's an absolute hockey hotbed in the United States.
I think the national program, the USA Hockey, does a great job of making people aware of the national team development program, constantly showing off how well the team's doing and players that have gone on. And I don't know that a lot of people outside the borders of Minnesota, maybe parts of North Dakota, are that familiar with the Upper Midwest High School Elite League. So why don't you tell people that aren't from here what it is that really has worked, it's been around a long time, and why the Elite League is so successful?
Yeah, I mean, the Upper Midwest High School Elite League, number one is we've got really strong sponsors that support the league, and they see the value of high school hockey. Secondly, we get the best kids in the state of Minnesota. It's like you said, John, son from North Dakota, and there's a team from Wisconsin, and collectively they play against each other, and it's really best on best during the fall before the high school season. So it's really, there's great sponsorship, there's unbelievably talented players that are competitive, that they want to, basically they want to show everybody, who's the best of the best in Minnesota high school hockey. And then there are also great coaches in the league, former NHL players, Mike Craig, Sean Toomey, Paul Ranheim, to name a few, Chris McAlpine, guys that know what it takes, that played at the highest level, and that are giving back.
And I think a lot of that's going to be on display today. They've come since 2013, and we've seen some great results for the Elite League, some very close games. I know several recent victories, so I think we're going to have people outside the borders of Minnesota see today what Minnesota high school hockey is all about and how the Elite League is an essential part of the progression for Minnesota's top players. When we flip over and look at the other team, the national team seems to have a formula, if you will. There seems to be a little pattern on how they form their rosters. Sometimes players go through the program successfully, and I think it increases the likelihood their younger brothers could go through. So we've got some examples. Seth Jones plays in the NHL, and his brother Caleb went through. Minnesota Wild player Jordan Greenway. Next year, J.D. Greenway went through. What about today's game?
Well, I mean, you've got some real interesting ones, and the first one that jumps out is Luke Hughes. And, the younger brother of Quinn and Jack Hughes, two just outstanding U.S.-born hockey players that are going to have great NHL careers. Younger brother Luke is the next one coming through. You've also got Justin Janicki, who is a Minnesota kid. His older brother Trevor played for this team a few years ago. So it's definitely it's a family business, if you will.
Luke Hughes is the third member of the Hughes family. Quinn was an early pick. And then we have Jack Hughes was last year's number one NHL draft pick. I think he's one of the first third in the family to go through. Sasha Pastajov, another one out there on the ice today. His older brothers Nick and Michael, both at the University of Michigan, went through the program. 98 and 99 born players that went through this program as well. The other thing that seems to be real common, they've been coming here since 2013. We see a lot of players who had NHL fathers. Some examples: Graham McPhee, father George McPhee. I think he's the general manager right now for Vegas Golden Knights. Minnesota North Star player Mark Tenorti, his son Jared Tenorti went through the program. What a wonderful Czech player, Jake Pavaka, the son of Michael Pavaka. And no exception this year, we've got some players whose fathers played in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, the first one is Ryan St. Louis, Father Marty, who I know he's real involved with coaching youth hockey. I believe it's in the Florida area. And so that's it's obviously an exciting connection. His father's got his name on the Stanley Cup. He's an outstanding player.
Tyler Boucher is another one. If you watch games on NBC, sometimes down on the glass, sometimes he's in the studio. Brian Boucher, longtime NHL goaltender, his son Tyler. There could be some others that we miss. Sometimes I don't recognize from the last name, but those are just some of the many examples over the years that have had players, and they send them. They can play anywhere. Obviously, these kids are good enough, and they've sent them to play for the national team. So that's always interesting for me to see. The other thing is the star power. When we look back at the rosters, I look at the NTDP, and it's Eichel, Kane, Matthews. These are the top players in the NHL. But the Elite League, they can rival that. NTDP's not alone in turning out some high-end players.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, and the best high school hockey players in the country play in this league, and hands down. And looking back, Sidney Crosby was a member of this league. Jake Gensel, a member of this league. Brock Besser, Jonathan Taves. Those are just to name a few. So it's really a who's who of hockey. Guys that show up on Olympic teams for the U.S., for Canada. They've all come through this league. It's really amazing, and the list just keeps growing.
A couple others that come to mind. I think Ryan McDonough went about 15th in the draft. He's been a captain in the NHL. Casey Middlestat went 8th in the draft. They played their senior years for Minnesota high school teams, and it really is a testament to the great level of play for high school hockey and the state of hockey. So, Mark, any final thoughts about this weekend and the games that we're about to watch?
No, I tell you what, John, it's going to be exciting. The building's going to be full. The games are going to be competitive. It's best on best. Team Minnesota taking on Team USA.
Looking forward to it. That's Mark McKasy, board member for the Upper Midwest High School Elite League.